Hello everybody, my name's Beau. Today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about a topic that I think is rather important for our society today. I wanted to start by reading you guys a quote from a book by C.S. Lewis called The Hideous Strength. The quote goes, "This was the first thing Mark had been asked to do, which he himself, before he did it, clearly knew to be criminal. But the moment of his consent almost escaped his notice. Certainly there was no struggle, no sense of turning a corner. There may have been time in the world's histories when such moments fully revealed their gravity, with which is prophesying on a blasted health or visible Rubicons to be crossed. But for him, it all slipped past in a chatter of laughter, of that intimate laughter between fellow professionals which all the earthly powers are strongest to make men do very bad things before they are yet individually very bad men." So, unless you guys couldn't tell from that quote, it's talking about a situation where a man is sitting inside of a business setting, brings up a topic, and is laughed at. And that affects the way that things move on from there. And this thesis that I want to come up with you guys is that when you think about the decisions that our government makes, or that businesses make, and the things that make you mad, makes you think to yourself, like, why did they do that? What were they thinking? It all boils down to this idea of groupthink, which is something that impairs our judgment, and it creates barriers in how we can create that judgment. It's so that we can become compliant for our own bosses and for the people who are cheering for us along the way. And it's more than likely done because it's just stretch. It's not something that we use to stretch past what is normal, basically. It does the exact opposite. So to kind of explain the problem a little bit better, I wanted to start by talking to you guys about a quote from an article that I read by Aldag and Fuller, which states, "Group problem solving is essentially a rational process with members unified in their pursuit of a goal and participating in the group process to facilitate achievement of that goal. This rational process involves the selection of the goal maximizing alternative regardless of which particular interests within the organization favor that alternative. Such rationality is both a description of the decision process and a valued social idea, referred to the theory of rational decision-making using terms such as faith and scripture." And so what this is basically saying is that groupthink is a process in which it is used to achieve a goal in the fastest way possible in order to be, and it also is compliant with the proper people that it needs to be. So, for example, the president might go about passing a law that would allow him to get more votes in the next election, or a senator who wants to make sure that the people inside of his state approve of him so that he can run for the next term. And it's a very damaging process because it doesn't allow for thinking outside of the box or new ideas to fix problems. And the reason is because we always want to do what we've always done to make sure that people are okay with what we're doing. For example, if I gave away $100 to everybody would be happy about it, because why wouldn't they be? Everybody who's ever received free money has always been happy about it. And so it's a process that I know will work, and so I'm going to do it over and over again rather than thinking about something else to make people happy. The problem affects everybody who lives in a country that is not a pure democracy, or anybody who's working within business. And it's meaning that everybody who is sitting here listening to my speech right now is affected by this issue. The cause of it is that groups of policymakers are relatively insulated from the judgments of qualified outsiders and lack systematic procedures for evaluating and searching out new evidence relating to the product, according to Tetlock. Decision makers consider themselves to be experts because of the position that they're in. So a CEO thinks that because he is the creator of the company, or he has such a high reigning power within the company, that he is an expert of everything that goes on inside of that, whereas he might have never been there for the production meeting that happened 14,000 levels below him, and he has no idea how this thing is made anymore. And he shouldn't have to. It doesn't make any sense for him to do that. However, the fact that he doesn't go down to production and see how things are done now when he's trying to make a decision about these kinds of things is where groupthink comes into play. He's trying to do things, he thinks that he is the group. And him and his board, they know everything, and they're not going to look outside, because they are the group, and they are the group that is thinking, that is creating the policy. And there is no follow-up process to seek new evidence, to sort of drift away from the group. There's no processes that we can really talk about that move us along in a way that seeks out new alternatives to problems, solutions that haven't been thought of yet. These kinds of things, they all point towards ask the CEO, ask the guy who's in charge, ask the one who's always answered the questions. That's just the way that it's always been. So when you never ask for help, then groupthink sets in, and the problem only evolves. So to solve this, um, we need to think more outside of the box, and we need to start asking for help. So the influence process by which groupthink occurs has also been questioned, although Janus, who's a writer from 1972, implied that groupthink is primarily an internalized process. Analysis suggests that at least some of the time groupthink occurs as a result of compliance. And so the solution that is being proposed here is that we need to move away from the way that things have always been done. So the process that we've been doing clearly isn't working, especially in our government and the way that things are done inside of businesses. It's not working. We got to have different ways so that we can approach experts and ask for their expertise inside of decision-making processes that affect other people. And we cannot allow our decisions to be made on our own, because the process of deciding who is an expert and how it can help and how their information is going to be relayed to that person is something that really needs to be considered. So the process needs to be created, and then we need to decide who's going to decide that process and who is going to be within that process, and what the information from the person within the process is going to be translated and moved along. So when we come up to the expert and we ask them a question, we need to figure out how that information is going to be relayed down the line to that decision. Is it going to be a minor fact that might change a small portion, or is it going to be a decision-making thing that's going to change everything? So the solution is pretty simple, but the human problem is not. Groupthink puts us all in situations that can make or break a business, all the way up into the government. And it's just because we have a lack of ideas to think outside of the box, and a large amount of arrogance and ignorance, to be honest. And until we can learn to come up with fresh ideas and how we're going to come up with those fresh ideas, then groupthink is going to continue to run our businesses, and it's going to continue to run our government. So my call to action is, don't stand there while the man laughs at you, like Mark did in C.S. Lewis's The Hidden Strength. Move past what people are thinking and think outside of the group. Accept all possibilities, consider the new ideas, and most of all, ask for help.